The whole point of the transcendental argument is to point you to this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, and fools despise wisdom instruction. So biblical epistemology, revelational epistemology, which Father Deacon argues for very well in his paper, is making the argument that we're not going to be able to construct a human system that will resolve or solve the perennial questions of philosophy, and especially the last 500 years of epistemology. That's the point. That the paradigm as a whole of non-believing, non-Christian worldviews are subject to devolution and digression into these boxes of contradiction and unsolvable dilemmas that are so contradictory, not just that they're wrong, but they actually make knowledge impossible. That is the argument. That's the strength of the transcendental argument, is that you must begin your reasoning with the fear of the Lord. And if you don't have that, it doesn't mean that everything you believe is wrong. It means, to translate it into philosophical language, you can't give an account for it. So you can tell me all day long about how you believe in teleology and causation, and you love Plato, and you love Aristotle's first mover, and blah, 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 blah. And that's all well and good. But all I have to do is ask you David Hume's questions. And you can tell me that you think Hume is incoherent, and I would agree with you that his worldview is false. But how do you answer his objections on causation, induction, deduction, regulative nature, etc., on your view? How many times have we repeated the peripatetic axiom? There is nothing in the intellect that is not first in the senses. Okay. How am I supposed to know that that's the truth, or accept that as a first principle, when that first principle itself is not in sense data and violates its own principle? Does that mean that I don't believe in sense data? No. I'm just questioning your jump start, your starting point. Okay. So we got a lot of slow boys out there who can't follow this point. Okay. We're not affirming skepticism. And by the way, me using an argument from David Hume does not make me a Humean atheist any more than Roman Catholics using Aristotle and first cause makes them Aristotelians. If I use an argument from Van Til, it doesn't make me a Calvinist. Okay. Do people not understand this? That people's arguments are different than the person making the argument. And by the way, that's called the genetic fallacy. So the people out here rambling, they don't even know what the fallacies are. Oh, that argument is false because it comes from an atheist, David Hume. Genetic fallacy. Why are you bringing fallacies to me? Literally, we had 3 people today making this making this genetic fallacy. And the other reason why, from the Orthodox or the Christian perspective, that we would have to disagree with, like, the Roman Catholic approach to these issues, right, is that we don't think that man's reasoning faculty is undamaged by the fall. So if you remember in Father Deacon's paper for the transcendental argument, he begins by quoting John Paul II's famous encyclical Fides et Ratio, Faith and Reason. And John Paul has the famous quote, which clearly expresses the Catholic tradition, that for them, natural philosophy, natural theology operates on the assumption that man's reasoning capabilities are autonomous. Clear as day, word for word what he says. When I sent the debate proposal to Trent, I said that proposition from John Paul II in his encyclical is what I want to debate. And that is what we debated. That's not what Trent debated. Trent did not debate that. Trent debated and conflated multiple issues: natural law, moral law, logic and logical probabilities and logical truths. Okay, none of those things are the equivalent of autonomous natural theology. Okay, those are all different things. But as we've seen, of course, many Roman Catholics, they because we operate on a sort of a bait and switch model, right? So we're all using the same words, so we all obviously mean the same things, right? What does E. Michael Jones say? Logos.
The logos of Plato is the same logos as the Aristotle, and that's the logos of John 1. Logos of John 1 is the same logos.
No, it's not. That's so inanely wrong-headed, I don't even know how to make this point. Do you think that Aristotle, when he thought about logos, when Marcus Aurelius thought about logos, was he intending the historical person Jesus Christ? No. Was he intending the Trinity? No. Was he intending the second person of the Godhead? No. Okay, so the words do not mean or have the same referent. I do not understand why Roman Catholics cannot understand this. It's not an advanced issue. It's not a technical issue. It's a very simple word reference issue. The word logos has varying and different meanings in different contexts and systems. Why is that hard to understand or accept? Okay. So no, John in John 1 does not mean what Aristotle and Plato mean by logos. There might be some overlap, but some overlap does not equate to same referent.